Hey gang, do you like annoying theme songs? Well, here you go.
He got into vintage audio a year ago, but there's a lot of things he still doesn't know, so he started up a channel on YouTube, and here he is now, the Vintage Newbie.
Hey gang, welcome to another thrilling, exciting episode of The Vintage Newbie. My name's Vernon Smith, and I'm an artist for Star Trek. What's Star Trek, you might ask? Well, it's a comic book series by IDW, and I've done art for it in the most recent issue, Star Trek number 500, that just came out a couple of weeks ago. So go check it out. There's 3 different covers to choose from, but all have the same stuff on the inside. It's got 7 stories by 7 different artists and writers, and I'm one of the artists. But in addition to that, I'm also the horse of your horse. Not a horse. So I should probably edit that out. Be right back, because I don't want you to see that embarrassing flub. Your host of The Vintage Newbie. Today, I'm going to be talking about something. It took me quite a few months to get around to making this video because the subject of it is an object of some contention with me. It took me a while to figure out, do I like it? Do I love it? Do I hate it? Do I sort of care about it? Am I slightly indifferent with a small sense of endearment? I'm not sure. What could I be talking about, you might ask? Though you're not. It's these. The Nova 7B speakers. Realistic. Sold by Radio Shack. I believe from the mid to late 70s. They are 55 watt speakers? I don't remember. They're 8 ohm speakers. They are 3-way speakers. They have a 10-inch woofer and 2 3.5-inch speakers, one of which serves as a tweeter and the other as a mid-range. Isn't that exciting? Now, why my undecisiveness regarding my feelings towards these speakers? Well, when I first saw them, I thought they were super cool looking. Because, dude, yeah. Made out of wood. Got the cool lattice design on the grill. They're big. So I figured they'd make some cool noise. And they did. They were pretty rough when I got them, though. The cabinets were pretty faded and had scratches on them. And even like a stain on top from somebody leaving a potted plant on them, because apparently that's what folks did in the 70s and 80s and would water them on top of there. So they'd get a nice little water stain in the shape of one of those like curvy, sort of rigidy plant pots. I got most of the scratches out using Howard's Restore Finish. And I can put a link to the video that taught me how to do that, which is from Skylabs, your home of Skylabs. Used a 4/0 steel wool pad to slightly buff the stuff out and get the Restore finish in there. Used the walnut color, which made it a little bit darker than it normally was. It was kind of in between this color and this lighter brown of the stereo rack, and then followed it up with some Howard Feed and Wax, which is also in the video that I might link below me. And for the sound, it sounded kind of muffled when I got them, but I did have the speakers on the floor. And I did also hear that people saying, yeah, you got to replace the capacitors. So I did that with some film capacitors from Parts Express. And it was pretty easy to do, especially for someone like me that's not very electrical mind oriented. But yeah, just needed a soldering gun, some solder, a little bit of know-how. A lot of guesswork, and the video helped a good bit, so I'll put a link to that too, if I remember. Didn't take too long to do. The new film capacitors were like this big, whereas the old ones were like that big. So I ended up having to drill little holes in the crossover and running some zip wires along it to kind of secure them into place. But it did help the sound. But these speakers, I come to find out, are very, 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 very particular in their placement and volume and stuff like that they needed. I had them hooked up to this receiver down here, the STA90. I had them hooked up to another realistic receiver, an STA77 that I talked about in a different video. I don't remember if I hooked them up to my Pioneer or Sansui, but with the other two realistics, yeah, the 77's like a lower watt one, like an 18 watt. This 90's like a 45 watt one, so I figured that would be kind of closer, but it still just sounded weird. The sound waves felt like they were kind of attacking my ears sonically. I don't even know what that means, but like if you had one of those future sonic boom sound wave guns, it felt like I could just feel like the circles of the sound waves like messing with my ears. And sometimes it sounded like if you were listening to something with your hands cupped over your ears. Even after recapping them, got some speaker stands that were about a foot and a half tall. That kind of helped too. Unfortunately, this room is like 10 feet by 12 feet, and it's filled with like another stereo rack on this side, then like a tall bookshelf over there, a dresser over there, a smaller bookshelf with a large printer and a couple of turntables on it over there. A smaller dresser is actually a changing table, but I repurposed it into a dresser, and album holder table. So I'm sure the acoustics of this room are not the greatest in the world. But still, my other speakers all sounded good in here. The JBLs, the Advents, even the Minimus 7s. Never had a problem with it. But, yeah, these Nova 7s, I did eventually discover that they just really like to be played loud, which is probably why I've read a lot, and I experienced this firsthand. The tweeters on these were blown. The tweeters on a lot of them out there are blown. So if you find a pair, make sure you test them out. Or you might end up having to buy new tweeters or mid-ranges. And don't just like put your ear up to it, because since it's three-way speakers, you might be getting sound from other speakers. But if you get like, you know, a paper towel cone or a toilet paper cone, not cone, the roll, the little inner roll, and just kind of put that up to each speaker, and you'll hear the sound coming through. Make sure the volume's low so you don't blow out your eardrum, okay? But the loud volume is about the and placement. Like I said, they had to be up off the ground, had to be away from the walls, which there are videos that show you how to place speakers in rooms. But with such a small room, most people have bigger rooms in their houses. My house is like 1,400 square feet, so I don't have any huge vaulted ceiling and like 30 by 40 foot rooms in this house. But I did notice when I would crank up the stereo that I did end up finally finding a really good sound for, which I'll talk about in another video, and I don't want to spoil it. So don't look at this STA 225 right there, because I don't want you to know that that's what it is, because it'll be a surprise for a future video. But when I did have it hooked up to that, and I cranked it loud and was, you know, couldn't obviously be in this room because it would blow my ears out. But if I was like in the kitchen, living room, one of the bedrooms, like it sounded really, really good. So if you have like a big garage or a large living room, these speakers would be good for that, for cranking it up. And there are also some, which I'll get to under the hood of these, because these grills are removable, but they do have screws holding them in place. And in the back, there's a high frequency compensator switch for like high, low, and normal. I usually just kind of keep it on normal, but it's hard to tell which setting is the right one because I can't be standing way in front of it and then be reaching 20 feet behind it to adjust the switch. So you just have to like remember how it sounded, then run behind the speaker, flip the switch, then run back to where you were, or just have someone else standing behind it. But I didn't do that. So I just kind of leave it on normal, and it seems to work fine. So yes, these are very particular sounding speakers. You need them in the right place. I've contemplated selling them, but I do love how they look because they are freaking cool looking. But enough about the front. Let's see how they look under, behind the grill. Here's a closer look at the front of the 7Bs. Like I said, they have the RS Radio Shack badge, which is, I believe, indicative of the earlier models. The later ones have a realistic badge going across that looks like that. Yeah, this lattice cross pattern looks really cool. Cabinets are solid wood. I did hit these with Howard's Restore finish, the walnut color. It made them a little bit darker than they normally were. Normally they're this closer to this lighter color, but I'm cool with it. Then I hit them with the Howard Feed and Wax, and there is a tutorial video from Skylabs. I'll link that below in case you want to do that yourself. The wood on these, like these cabinets, are in really, really, really awesome condition, except for one thing that I will show you whenever I move this self-promotion sign right here. There is this ring on top, and probably if I would have sanded it, I could have gotten rid of it, but I don't have a sander. And this is pretty much guaranteed to have been from a potted plant that was placed on this in the 70s and 80s, because that's kind of what people did. But luckily, I normally have it covered anyway. Not always with this sign. It normally has like that's where I'll put like a record and a little now playing thing right there. Anyhow, because I'm sure you all give a shit about that. These grill covers are removable, but they do not pop in, you know, with little pegs like this kind does, or with Velcro like a lot of older speakers do. They have 4 screws, 1 in each corner, but I only have 3, so I need to replace one. So yeah, you just unscrew them, yeah, pop them off, and there are the drivers. Like I said, you got 2 3.5-inch speakers. One functions as a tweeter, the other as a mid-range, and then you got this 10.5-inch or 10-inch woofer, and it has these rubber surrounds, the never rot kind for the most part. And to change the capacitors, you just unscrew these 4 screws, pop it out. You'll have to take the fiberglass out. I replaced the fiberglass with polyfill because fiberglass just kind of creeps me out. And the crossover is like right behind here on the back of the cabinet. Easy peasy to do, even for a dum-dum like me. I will post a link to the video that I used as a tutorial. So there you have it. The Nova 7Bs. And I'm back. Or my front. Who can say? I can, but I choose not to. So that was how those things looked over there. Thanks for tuning in and watching this. And I guess I'll see you in part 2. Unless you don't, come back for it. Have a blessed day.